Today we're using farfalle. Farfalle is the Italian word for butterfly. And for this particular dish, because we're using the hot pepper paste, it's perfect because this type of pasta has a lot of little grooves that'll catch and trap that sauce. So we put this in, and along with that, we're going to be using some green beans. And here we have some beautiful green beans. When you go to the grocery store, if you don't hear snap, if it's like that, see, that's not a good one, then you just throw that out. Green beans should snap, and that way you'll know they're fresh. So once you have them, I just take the stems off, and then you want to cut them into thirds. Just cut them into thirds. And why am I doing this? Why don't I just throw the beans in whole? Well, I don't throw them in whole because this way, if I cut them up in thirds, they'll all cook at the same time. So just in thirds. So now we have that, and we're going to put them in with the farfalle. We're going to save ourselves some time in the kitchen today. So in go the green beans. And now we want to give that a whirl and let this come back to the boil. And we want to cook this just until the pasta is al dente and the green beans still have a little bit of crunch to them. So we'll put the cover on and we'll let that go. Now with this, I'm going to add some other flavor ingredients to it because I think this combination goes nicely together. One of the things we're going to use is some pecorino cheese. So we want to grate up some cheese for our dish. And this is a salty cheese, so we have to be careful. We want to control the amount of salt that we're going to be using in the dish. So grate up some cheese, and we're just going to set this aside now while the pasta is cooking. And I'm going to take this and drain it right in here. Get most of that water off. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. And now the pasta. All of this goes back in. And if you have enough water, you have no stick. That's important to know. So now we turn this around in the olive oil and we add the magic ingrediente, which is about that much. Goes plopped right in there. And now we stir this around. Okay, now I can add the cheese. So here's some of that cheese that I grated up. The pecorino goes in. Not going to put all of it in because I want some for the top. And stir this around. Beautiful. Once that's all mixed in, now we can put it out onto our platter. You pour it all out into the bowl, just like that. And then we add our cracklings. Remember? That was the prosciutto that I showed you earlier that we have right here. And I just take it, put it right over the top. This gives added flavor and nice saltiness to this dish. But we're not done. Why don't you come to the oven with me? Because I have a little surprise. I knew how much you would love these peppers. So I decided to roast a few for you. See how beautiful they look roasted? They're actually a pretty picture right in this baking dish. So I left them whole. Little olive oil, and this is just a garnish. You put them over the top, like so. You don't have to eat them, obviously, unless you really are adventuresome, and people do eat them. And here are a couple more. And then I like to add a sprig or two of basil